Welcome back to the podcast. In today's interview, I sat down with Tariq Malik, editor-in-chief of Space.com. We discussed his 25 years of covering space and technology. So Tariq, how long have you been with Space.com?
I have been with Space.com in one way or another since September of 2001. I started as an intern, so 25 years this year.
Is space something you thought you would get into, maybe like out of high school, college years, or is it something you drifted into later?
I was always really interested in space. I went to space camp a few times. I got my space exploration merit badge in Boy Scouts. I launched my own rockets, so I was really gung-ho about it. But I think it wasn't until college when I realized I could study it. Mm-hmm. So I studied astronomy there, but I didn't really have the math skills for it. I kind of got stuck at differential equations. So, but the journalism thing, I was doing print newspapers back then, and that was pretty good. So I did that. But I found space journalism by accident. They laid us off at the LA Times, and I went to graduate school for science reporting because I had been doing some of that with the newspaper, and I liked it. And the director of my program, Bill Burrows, I found out he was a space reporter and that it was a job you can have, and he had written books about it, and that was really exciting. And that first couple weeks, that was September of 2001 when I moved to New York, and Space.com was looking for interns, and I applied and they said yes, and then I kind of stuck on forever after that.
So when you first got into covering space, do you remember your first assignment?
Yes, it was for Space.com, it was a story about finding water ice on Europa.
Oh.
Which I was like, wow, they found it, but then my boss was like, no, they've always known it was there, but make it sound exciting. So
compared to other stories that you've written, what's the difference between how you construct a story based on space and technology as opposed to maybe other subjects you've written on? Is it the same methodology or is it different?
Well, I mean, when I worked at the newspaper, it was very much now, right? It's your pyramid, right? Your inverted pyramid, who, what, where, when, why, how, all that fun stuff. But at Space.com, the whole kind of founding principle is that we're trying to be transportative, right? That you want to help explain what's happening, but also we're excited about it, and we kind of want to show why we're excited about it, because we wouldn't try to tell it to people if we weren't excited about it. Not to be a cheerleader, but to say this is really special. So it's not just all like AP News headlines. We do a lot of that, but the way people consume the news now and look for it, that's evolved and changed. So we try to evolve and change with that. But I want to go to space. I don't know, Richard, if you want to go to space too. I assume yes.
No,
right? No, you don't.
I'm scared of the heights. I don't want.
I mean, I'm sure I'd be scared too. I don't know if I would even go if they even asked you, but I would love to just see. I'd like to see what it looks like, and feel what it feels like. I have gone on that plane, the zero-G plane.
Oh, really?
And that was really weird. And it was really, really cool. But that's about as close as I've gotten. And if that's as close as I get, then okay, that's what it is. But it would be nice to get in the rocket and touch the stuff. I would always get really upset when the space shuttles were retiring, and I was training a whole new crop of space reporters, so you need to get experience for them before it's all gone. And they would come down, and it's like, oh, they let us in Space Shuttle Discovery the one last time, and I was like, oh. Or they let us drive the moon rover over here. It's like, oh no, I never got to do that. But I've had my share of all of that stuff, and here we are now going to the moon. That's really exciting because I've been waiting for this for the entire 25 years I've been here, and for the 25 years before that, or 20 years before that I was, a space fan, but not knowing what really to do with it.
Right.
So they always tell you it's 20 years away. 20 years away, 20 years away.
Always 20 years away.
It's still 20 years away to get to Mars, still now, and I'm almost 50 now at this point. But now we're actually going to the moon. We're in a room, I know that folks can't see it, but there's a great big Snoopy on the moon poster, and it's gorgeous. It says small steps lead to giant leaps, forward to the moon, but it says 2024 on it, and that was because in 2020, they were trying to get there in 2024. But in 2004, they were trying to get there in 2020. And so this feels like a really big payoff. And I know that it's really frustrating and we talk about budgets, but at least we're doing it now.
Right.
So So that's really exciting.
So going from being a space reporter to a space editor, how did that promotion come about?
Well, just over time. I think I became an editor in 2009 because we needed more people, and the editor at the time was a managing editor who became like an executive. So, and then as we grew again in 2019, I became the editor-in-chief for that. So actually, no, I became managing editor in the middle of that. So it was kind of like a stepping stone approach as we got more people, because we have more people at space.com now than when I was ever there in 2001. I think we've got a team of about 13 to 15 people overall.
Okay.
And that's shared resources like for video and social media. Before that, space.com was like really, really big. They had like hundreds and hundreds of people because it was a .com company in 1999, founded by Lou Dobbs, who thought that it's a media company, so a media company should be in New York City, which is about as far from the space space centers
Not much space in New York,
as you can get. Well, now there are some. There's a private spacesuit company. Their Launcher, the private rocket company, started there at the Brooklyn Navy Yards. Now they're out in California. But there's a few things like that I mean, you can still find them if you dust it off. I live in New Jersey. I live in a town in New Jersey that the Mark Kelly and Scott Kelly brothers are from.
Oh, okay.
So we have a high school, elementary school named after them, and a bunch of roads and that kind of thing. New Jersey has the most astronauts per like square mile. Right. You know, so we've got the world's only astronaut twins in my hometown now. The next town over, Montclair, that's where Buzz Aldrin is from, and then there's like it just keeps going. Every other town, there's like an astronaut from there.
So daily workload. Now I know daily workload as a journalist or a reporter compared to the editor is going to be slightly different, but you still generate your own stories as the editor. You're a working editor.
I get to pick and choose. Yeah, this is actually like a luxury for me because other people are running the site right now, and I don't have to deal with that because there's a lot of when you're an editor-in-chief, there's a lot of other things that's not about the news that you have to watch over. Things like working with the sales teams and the search teams and the marketing teams and all of that stuff. And we're trying to whatever tech teams, if they're going to add new features and bells and wingdings, because the internet just changes all the time. And that takes a lot of time. But, and we're actually split now. One of the big changes since 2018 is we became part of a larger company called Future PLC. Future is an international company that has something on the order of, I believe it's 400 different brands. So it's a very large company. A lot of them are very niche tech. Radar is one of them. Tom's Guide, Tom's Hardware. Those are all part of that. Also Marie Claire, UK and US, and Town and Country, I think, maybe. But there's a lot of like niche stuff. You know, the PC Gamer, which is one of my favorites. You know, is from there. But also Games Radar. So they've got a lot of things, and we are the kind of core space online brand for them right now. And they had a magazine at one point all about space, and so we're part of that bigger family.
Okay.
And because of that, it means that I talk to a lot of people in the UK, and half my team is in England, and spread out pretty much like around the US as well. So that's the biggest. I think that's the biggest part is trying to manage the team when we've got some people that are in California and they wake up at a certain time, and we've got people in England and they wake up at a certain time. People in Indiana and North Carolina. I'm the only one that's based out of New York, but we do have another writer and a video person in New York. So
are they mostly freelance or are they staff?
They're all staff.
Oh, they're all staff.
They're all staff, and we have a much wider net of freelancers, and we work with them on a regular basis for stuff because the site, you wouldn't be able to have the breadth and the scope of what we try to do if you didn't have more contributing writers than the folks that you have on staff. I would love to have all those people on staff. And then we make a great big space, phalanx, kind of taking over everything.
As the editor, how do you plan coverage for something like Artemis II?
We've been planning this for at least a year. And for the last 6 months. But yeah, we've been planning the Artemis II coverage for at least a year, and in depth for 6 months. And what I mean in depth is that we commissioned stories 6 months ago that we're using now, for the run-up. Of course, all of those plans, what does it say? If you want to make God laugh, tell me your plans, right? First action with the enemy or whatever it is. Right. So it all goes up to launch, and then what comes next is dependent on how that changes. So you can have that big plan going into it, and so that's where we are now. in it, and it all really paid off very well. And we got new features in. It's been very exciting to see because we planned for all of it so far in advance.
Right.
And we actually do that for a lot of things. There's a big solar eclipse in August, and the planning for that started last year.
Oh.
And the same was true for the 2024 or 2020. What was the last one? 2024 solar eclipse. Yeah. So, but we try to see like what do we know about it. We're very close to it, so we know we're going to do. Who are the astronauts? What are they doing? Like, how do we feature all of them separately, but also together as a crew? What's the science they're going to do? Okay, what's the thing that we're too close to that we don't know about? Oh, they named the ship. This is the story that I've been thinking about. People might forget why they named the ship. We can do a story about that. How much room is it inside the ship? Right? Why is it Orion? How much bigger is it compared to Apollo? They may not remember that. Okay, so maybe we think about that because we've got 4 days to get to the moon. What can we do about all of that stuff? What are they talking about on the way to the moon? So we listen for those calls, and then how do we convey that joy through it? We did change our strategy though. I mean, we like I told you, I grew up in newspapers. I treated it like a wire for a long time, but the audience isn't there anymore. So we're trying to what is the personal story? We were just we were just in Mission Control. Did you go? Right?
No, I didn't. Yeah. I've been here. Yeah, I live right down the street.
Oh, yeah, so you've been there before. Yeah. But we were just there. How do we show that to people because we're here in a way that conveys the excitement, but also why it's important to be there? And that's what we're looking at now, we have the access, let's show it. Let's show what it feels like to watch the launch. That was really something special to see. And I may not get a chance next time because it should be someone else's turn, But hopefully we'll have a lot more of them, Richard. A lot more of them.
Yeah. Talk about that tight-knit sort of space journalist community. It doesn't seem like it's nearly as big as I thought it would be compared to other genres.
Yeah, it was really interesting during the space shuttle era because they were flying space shuttles very regularly, like 3-4 times a year.
Right.
And those missions are 2 weeks long. The campaigns are a month long, And that was one thing that I was really surprised by was that there was this core group that you would see all the time. And for us, they're friends. But for everyone else, that's where they're getting their news from. And there was, while there is competition because everyone wants to be first and get a hot dog and scoop kind of a thing, there is also hey, you need to know this, and are you here? And that is I think something that was really surprising to me. And I think there was I could be having wrong, but in the shuttle, when I was starting, there was 20 or 30 people that I met, and we became really good friends over the years, to the point where Nell Greenfield Boyce, I told her that she always says that she forgets, but I locked my keys in the car at NASA Kennedy Space Center after a launch scrub, and that's it. You can't go home. There's no way. But she noticed it, and she was going home for the mission. She wasn't going to stay, but she drove me back to my hotel, and she picked me up in the morning and brought me back, and then she went to the airport, and then NASA helped me get a tow truck to open up the trunk of the car. And there's things like that you don't. I forgot my Wi-Fi connecting when we used to have the dongles because it wasn't just ever present. And Irene Klotz let me in to her Reuters booth to let me use her internet, for an event.
That's cool.
So it's like stuff like that that I think is really nice to see. And now there's a new generation because there's a much wider, much more accessible way to get into space, and there's different levels now. So you have, I'm sure there's influencers for YouTube or whatever who all know each other, and then they're here and they're meeting, and there's people that are on different branches that are doing all of that. I know there's at least one influencer here recording lots of videos and asking questions in the press conferences, as well reaching a different audience. And I always thought that NASA needed a fan club. I did, because they're not allowed to market and recruit, and they got that in 2007 when they started on Twitter, and they've kind of been off to the races ever since then.
Questions. Whenever we're in these press conferences, everyone's got their question they want to answer, and I know this has happened to you. Yeah. It's happened to me in the relatively short time I've been doing this. You got that question, and then all of a sudden the person in front of you asks the same thing.
Yeah.
How do you quickly go back and forth? Do you have your list scripted ahead of time?
I used to.
Listen to the tone of
I used to have a lot of questions, and then I stopped because I realized that they started to know that I was the touchy-feely question person. How does it feel? How does it feel? That's the backup, Richard. That's the backup. How does it feel? How does it feel to be
the emotional side?
So yeah, I wanted to know about the faults yesterday in the press conference, and that was great, but I really wanted to know about the pace. And I wanted to ask that question, and so I had to shout it at the end of it to get it in, just as everyone was leaving. But if someone had asked all of those questions, then I would have to say, how does it feel to be at this point in the mission and everything's going smoothly? What is everyone else feeling? Have you cut the cake yet? No, they haven't. So, but I became the person that was always asking the "how does it feel" question.
Right.
So because I would always be last on the questions.
So whether you're writing a story or you're looking at stories coming in from your journalists, give me a couple of points you're looking at that when you look at your story, you say, okay, that's the story right there. We don't need to make any changes or maybe a little tweak here and there, but this is the story we want, as opposed to let's do a rewrite. This I don't think this is hitting home. Yeah. What's a good story, Tariq?
Well, ours we try to be transportative, right? We want to convey the coolness of it. What's the amazing part of what you're trying to get across, and is that in the front? And it's really embarrassing, Richard, but I look at those old stories from 2004 when I became a staff writer, and I didn't know what to include because I was very news wire oriented. Right. So it doesn't say the space shuttle docked. It says the space shuttle docked with a pressurized mating adapter 4 or whatever, and then there's a bajillion acronyms and it's just so you look back on it and you're like, why didn't I know, and now it's what is going to get this idea across, our pre-launch story was about it being on April Fool's Day, and it's not being a joke. And you can say, hey, they're getting ready to launch, and it's on April 1st, and then mention it lower down. But the flight test director was talking about how he doesn't want any pranks. So we'll start with him because he's a person, and he can say this is happening and it's important.
These stories can get so technical, like you were just talking about with acronyms and the different verbiage. But we're taking these stories, you, me, everyone in this part of the news media, and we're taking that back out to an audience that doesn't know much about, other than what sound bites they hear on TV. How do you make this appeal to an audience that may not know really a whole lot about the space program?
Yeah, well, that's kind of the what's the amazing part of it? What's the new part of it? We wrote about the toilet being broken, but how they fixed it really quick. I had a whole discussion with our spaceflight editor today about what do we want to do? Do we want to do a story about the amazing photo that they took? Oh, we've already done it. Do we want to do a story about the glitches and how they fixed it? Oh, I like that story, But let's hold off on that. Let's do a different one about what the crew is feeling now, because we haven't done that story. Other people might have seen the video, and we have the video, so let's use that and tell that story now. So it's things like that. We look for what we can convey now on the personal level to help people understand what it's like to be there.
Last question for you, Tariq. We're both about to walk into a press conference as we speak, but for anyone that has an interest in, maybe they're existing journalists and they have an interest in space and technology, they might want to get into that for the first time, or maybe it's a future content creator that we talked about earlier, someone that might listen or read to this little bit here and think, I think I'm interested in storytelling the future of humanity through space.
Well, I would say if you're interested in it, just try to find a way in. I mean, I luckily found a way in because through a very traditional way, through an internship right now. But there are tools now that exist that that weren't available to me at that time. I mean, you can start your own blog now. You can start your own YouTube channel. You can start a social media thread, and just focus on that and work hard to try to get into it. But you have to be knowledgeable about something. You don't want to fake it. So don't get into it just to try to be popular. You really want that passion to come through, and if you're interested in it, and it should eventually come out over time, but you won't be able to do it if you don't start. And so that's what I tell my daughter. When she wants to do some stuff, you just got to start, and it might not be perfect the first time, but at least you will have started doing it and getting your feet wet. NASA has social meetups. That's a good way in for a lot of people. I know a lot of people who became space reporters that way. But I also know a lot of people who weren't even writers, but just started writing a bit, sent some clips in, and then got picked up that way as well.
Well, thanks for coming on and sharing your experiences, Tariq.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always great to talk about space. So now we got to go do the work now.
If you enjoyed this video, consider supporting our effort to share the news in print and on our extensive website, and now on our new YouTube channel. Contact publisher David Day at area code 409-943-4265 to support the Post newspaper today.